It's no secret, things feel a little weird right now. Prices are up, shelves look different, and there's just that underlying sense that everything feels a bit off. So instead of spiraling, we came back to what we know how to do. We bake bread, we use what we have, we fill jars. This week in our pantry challenge, I focused on ingredients that have been sitting for a while: frozen zucchini from last year's garden, flour I forgot I even had, and dry goods that just needed a plan. With the kids right alongside me, we made bagels, cranberry sourdough muffins, canned chickpeas, started bone broth, and even made elderberry syrup as sickness started going around our friends. When things get weird, we get back to basics. Stick around and see just how we do that. Welcome back to my channel, friends. If you're new here, my name is Sarah. I'm an RN turned homemaker and homesteader, and I just wanted to chat with you today during my 6th pantry challenge video about how we as a family are trying to stay grounded in what feels like just a crazy, crazy world. And one of my recommendations is essential oils. As new age as that sounds, it is very helpful for us as a family. For one, depending on the scents that you choose, it can be calming. It can also be cleansing in your air. And I don't know about where you live, but we have a lot of pollution, and we can really start to feel it if we're not being proactive about trying to clean our air. So that is my first tip. Some of you may be surprised to learn that as a medical professional, we do not always get nutritional education. And whatever little bit we do get, it is very mainstream and often more propaganda than actual science, especially doctors who really don't get anything other than pharmaceutical training after their anatomy and physiology education. So, I have been committed to learning how to feed my family ever since realizing this, that I really didn't know anything about nutrition. And so I've been really committed to learning and feeding my family whole foods as much as possible, buying the best that we can on a very small, tight budget. And of course, part of the problem being on a tight budget is you really want to have good quality ingredients. And organic doesn't always mean the same that it did a few years ago. Unfortunately, there's been a lot of loopholes in that term now. So, really knowing where you're sourcing your food is probably going to be the most important. However, it can get pricey, as everybody is feeling right now. And my only recommendation is to just do the best with what you have. And for me, we don't get to buy half a cow or anything like that right now in this season. So I'm just trying to buy organic where I think it is necessary. And then I'm trying to source locally for foods. And when I can't get that, I am buying majority of my pantry staples from Azure Standard. Outside of that, I'm like everybody else where I buy from local discount stores. Ours is Grocery Outlet. And then, of course, we have a semi-local Costco about 30 minutes away that I try to get other bulk items. We are a large family of 7, so buying things in small portions just isn't economical for us. And I have made it a mission to build up our pantry over the last several years. I know that building up your pantry can be a tad intimidating when you really look at what you're wanting to put into it, but it's like eating an elephant. You want to take one small bite at a time, and it's going to take a long period of time to do so. This didn't really happen overnight for me. When I did start building up my pantry, we were better off financially. I was still working as a nurse, so we had two incomes. So I was able to take quite a big bite out of our pantry. However, right now, we are not able to do that. So that's where gardening is a big tool that we use and preserve that food like this zucchini and use it at a later date. If I wanted to do this in the off season, it would cost so much money and probably not have nearly as much nutrition as even this frozen, almost 3-year-old shredded zucchini has. But when you want to build up your pantry and take small bites, start with the thing that you know that you will be using the most. So rice, flour, anything along those lines that will store pretty well. And if you do have the means to get a grain mill at some point and start buying some wheat berries, that will definitely help stretch the budget once that investment is done. But I understand that that's not the case for everybody. So for things like these noodles, I've had these for a while and I don't exactly remember why I bought them. So I wanted to get them out of my pantry. And the almond flour and the quinoa that's sitting there on the counter is also staring me in the face so that I know to use them. I have had them for quite a while. The almond flour does not smell rancid yet, or I would have thrown it away, but I do need to figure out what I'm going to do with those. Quinoa, I usually, weirdly enough, like to make for breakfast and have some eggs and bacon with it, but my kids do not. So as you saw, this zucchini bread was a major explosion, and I would venture to not use the word failure, but it definitely was not perfection. It became an upside down zucchini bread, but it was very delicious and tasty, and we gobbled it up within a couple days, and I feel good about the ingredients that I was able to put into it. So again, I would use the term failure loosely. Definitely a learning that I knew in my gut that I had overfilled those um, loaf pans, but I still went ahead and did it anyways for time's sake, and this was the result that I got. So my next recommendation or tip on how to get by in this crazy, wacky world that we're living in right now is to just focus on your family. Just focus on what's in front of you, learning new skills, and not worrying about what we are seeing in the media. I have really started turning it off. If you've noticed, I haven't really been responding to as many comments, is because I have taken a lot of things off of my phone. If I could go down to a dumb phone like many other people have been doing, I totally would. I just don't see how that's possible for me right now. But I am really trying to preserve my mentality and my family's mentality because I know that as a mother and homemaker that my heart can typically set the tone for the house. So if I'm stressing out about things going on in the world that I have absolutely no control or say in, I feel like that is not a good use of my time. The more stress we have in our lives, the higher our cortisol levels are going to be, the higher the inflammation is going to be in our body, and so forth. It becomes a spiral of issues. And I don't know about you, but I don't have the time in the day to try and combat every single issue from external stimuli. So, this is how I am preserving my sanity and my family's well being right now. I will make sure to link all of the cookbooks and website recipes to everything that I'm making today down in the description box below. But if you've been watching any of my videos, you know how much I absolutely love this fresh ground flour book. And I also do really love Lisa Bass's sourdough book. It's really easy to convert into fresh ground flour, especially since she's really been making those strives on her channel and on her blog. It just is super simple. Those would be my top two that I would recommend. Sweet pea perfume delight, sweet pea mammoth navy blue, and then the high scent sweet pea. I'm going to soak these tonight, and then I will plant them tomorrow. Just gonna go ahead and whoopsie. I'm just gonna go ahead and put some water, and then that way I can keep them separated so I know what's what. And I'll put the cups on top. But I'm excited. I've heard really good things about sweet peas. I do know that they're toxic to animals, and since we don't have any, I'm comfortable, and I will just have a conversation with my kids that they can't eat these plants because they do like to eat things that they find.
But why do you need to soak seeds?
Some of them, it makes it easier for them to germinate. Camera's on. Because it reaches there.
I put one in.
Well, we're doing 3 seeds.
Wait, Mom, what
Every-
are in those cup? What, that cup? Seeds?
Yes.
Why'd you waste cups for seeds?
I'm wondering if you can feel the false spring through the camera right now because it was super warm, probably high 60s, low 70s on this day. And all of my stuff is finally germinating and I'm super excited, but I'm also very scared that it's going to freeze at some point and kill everything off. So my escape out to the garden has now deviated back into the kitchen to finish up these bagels. I need to shape them and I guess boil them, water bath them, however you want to put it. I'm sure there's a technical term that I am forgetting right now. However, that was time sensitive, obviously. So here I am missing my false spring, but enjoying making these delicious bagels. I did remember last minute that last time these bagels stuck to the parchment paper and did not want to come up when it was time to go into their water bath. So I did spray the parchment with some avocado oil and it worked beautifully this time. So if you're having that issue, definitely try the oil. I did deviate from the recipe here to go by Lisa's bagel recipe for the water bathing. I am adding a tablespoon of sugar and a tablespoon of baking soda as opposed to the honey that was mentioned in the other recipe book. If you have never made homemade bagels, you are seriously, seriously missing out, and I highly recommend this be one of your first recipes that you try. And even better if you're going to be using the fresh ground flour because you are getting all those extra amino acids that you miss when you're using pre-ground flour. Something else that I'm making sure to do more often than not these days is make herbal tea, depending upon the situation in the house. So on this day, there was a lot of spraying outside, and I wanted to make sure that we could all detox pretty well, but obviously with the children very gently. I also needed a caffeine boost, so I was using my gentle detox that has some green tea in it. And I was also using the all around nourishing tea. I've shown both of these before, but they are very helpful for your system, barring any kind of health issue with your kidneys or things like that. But these bagels came out absolutely delicious, and my kids have been munching on them. And I also did slice them up and put them into the freezer as well for later on. This is some quick fixing chicken. I was just going to go ahead and add some spices to it and put it in the oven to have for tonight's dinner. And true mom fashion, I'm having to open these jars with my arm like a little T-Rex is what I felt like. And then I had to go and finish off my tea mid playing with my raw chicken. So you'll see my hand. I feel like a little T-Rex here, but any other moms feel like that sometimes when they can only use one hand for everything. And my toddler is just there along for the ride, keeping me company. So like I had mentioned, I was putting the quinoa in my face so that I remembered to make sure to use it. And so on this day, that's exactly what I'm doing. It's going to be the side to our chicken. And with that, after rinsing and washing it, I am adding some of the chicken bouillon that I have shown you on here previously. I will link that below. I believe it was from Seed and Sparrow, and if I can find her video, I will also link that below because she doesn't have her blog up with that recipe yet. But it really is delicious to have on hand, especially if you are behind on your bone broth making, like I am on this day. And it is a great substitute that doesn't have all those nasty preservatives that we're trying to stay away from. I always make sure to internal temp check most of my food, even my bread, but especially my chicken. I have this fear of giving my family undercooked meat. This was the next day with breakfast. They had the bagels with some homemade raspberry jam and a banana. I woke up to some text messages from our friends that they were feeling quite under the weather and coming down with the flu. And since I see them pretty regularly, and so do my children, I decided that I needed to make more elderberry syrup. I do have a free ebook that's listed down in the description box below that has a very similar recipe. It's one of my older recipes. I have tweaked it a little bit since, but it is free and it has a bunch of other herbalism recipes too for you to try out. But this is a tried and true recipe that I make for my local community. And then I also do have these quick kits for the elderberry syrup, chest congestion syrup, and a cough and sore throat syrup available online. And I will list all of that below for you. But this is why I order those massive jars of honey. Um, and it is so fun to watch mixing in the elderberry syrup to the honey. It's very mesmerizing to me. I don't know. Am I just overthinking it? What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments below. So in the evening, I am preparing this bag of garbanzo beans or chickpeas, whichever one you want to call it. I'm adding some apple cider vinegar after adding the filtered water for these, and I'm going to let it sit overnight. And I also am going to smash them around in there just a little bit because these things stick together, and if you don't do that, you're not going to get an even soak overnight. Hopefully you believe me by now that I absolutely love her cookbook. On this day, I am going to be making muffins. That was a blackberry muffin recipe, but I am swimming in frozen cranberries, as you will see shortly. So I am going to make a double batch of cranberry muffins instead of the blackberry muffins. And that is a skill. It may not seem difficult to people like myself at this point, but learning to cook from scratch and not following a recipe to the T was scary for me in the beginning. So if this is you right now, if you are just starting out, don't be afraid to swap out ingredients based on what you have so that you don't overspend and break your grocery budget. So I did, of course, convert this into a fresh ground flour recipe. So I was watching the consistency of the batter and adding more liquid as I felt was needed. And as you can see, this is a huge bag of frozen cranberries, and it is not my only one. So I am going to be doing more things like this in the near future to get through these. I was going through the Ball canning books to look for a cranberry recipe, and I could only find recipes that involved other fruits that I don't have on hand. So I was considering making some more cranberry juice, like what Jessica on Three Rivers does. If you have any suggestions, please let me know in the comment section below, and I will see if it would work for us because I need some help in this department. I have probably 10 pounds or so of cranberries. Over a month ago now, when I was preparing for this challenge, I realized I have an entire 5-gallon bucket of bread flour, and this is old bread flour. Like, this is probably 4 years old, so it is not nutritious at all at this point, but I need to use it. So here we are. I used fresh ground flour with the bread flour, and it came out absolutely delicious still. So this looked like it came out pretty perfect. I do need to switch some to another one, but about 4 quarts. I'll switch out the water, and then I will can them this afternoon during baby nap time. If you have never canned before, pressure canning can be a little intimidating, and I would always suggest you start with water bath canning if possible. So I'm just going to go ahead and start some beef bone broth really fast, and I will link a video in the description box below with more tutorial style because I have shown this before as to why I add apple cider vinegar and so forth. But this is definitely a pantry staple in our home. So if this season feels uncertain to you, I just want to remind you this is something you can control. You can cook from scratch. You can use what you already have. You can build skills that no headline can take away from you. This week wasn't about perfection or fear. It was about steadiness, about teaching my kids that when things feel strange, we don't panic. We prepare, we bake, we preserve, we take care of our home. If you're doing this pantry challenge alongside us, I'd love to hear what you're using up this week. And if you're getting started, start small. One jar, one loaf, one meal at a time. I'll see you in the next video. Bye, friends.